Hi, everybody. Welcome to a special edition of Litter Media Live, brought to you today by Classic Brands. I'm your host, Mike Smith, and joining me today is Paint Valley High School baseball coach Shayne Combs. And we're going to be talking about the historical celebration of the Paint Valley baseball and softball programs. And what's particularly unique about this year, this is the 30th anniversary of the Paint Valley baseball team's state championship, won back in 1995. We'll come right back to Shayne right after this from Classic Brands. Mike Smith back with Shayne Combs on Litter Media Live Special Edition. Shayne, first of all, when Paint Valley Baseball won the state title, you were a senior at Unioto High School.
Yeah, I was, and I'd grown up playing baseball my whole life, and as I got late into high school, I was a much better basketball player. Loved baseball, always loved the ins and outs of baseball, and I loved play baseball. Unioto was obviously very good at that time as well, and as I got later into my career, it's actually how I got into coaching baseball. Had a really good relationship with Coach Don Neff, and as I started to get into some different basketball situations, I made the decision to step away, and he started to give me some behind-the-scenes assistant, kind of like student assistant coaching, I guess we call it nowadays. Got a chance at a young age to do a lot of scouting, got a lot of chance to work with Mr. Neff, who was obviously way ahead of his time, and learn a lot, and that led to coaching the first year out, and this is my 31st year. I've coached high school baseball every year since. So, yeah, but looking back on that, it's incredible to think of that district matchup with Unioto and Paint Valley and how that played such a role in that tournament run.
Yeah, Shayne and I were just chatting. I was, of course, broadcasting at WKKJ at that time, and they met in the district final. Paint Valley wins by a run. Unioto strands the tying run at third. And at the district final, you don't know how things are going to pan out, and that possibly was the state championship game between those two teams.
Well, I think people had that sense. You never know about state championship, but I think at the time that game was played, people had the sense that, hey, the winner of this one's going to have a real good chance to make a Final Four run, and that's what happened. It was a one-run game. It was an amazing finish, as you and I were talking about, and then watching that Paint Valley group go through some of the VA games and some of the state, they had a unique ability to find a way to win. They obviously had an elite pitcher, and they could really hit it 1 through 9, it's just been a really cool memory and something that's kind of led to this event. We think we need to really highlight it a little bit more than maybe we have over the years.
How many years now are you coaching at Paint Valley baseball?
Year 31 overall for me, I believe all but 5. So I was a JV coach a little bit at Paint Valley, and then I was with Coach Chris Medved, and then I've been the head coach since 07 now. So this is year 19, counting the COVID year.
Chris, who's been with the softball program for so many years, he was an assistant of Rod Gregory's on that state championship team, I believe, at that time.
Yeah, Chris is a guy that means a lot to me. Chris Medved's someone that we hope, because I know he won't, so we're going to do it for him. He's someone we hope we can really highlight Saturday a little bit. If you think of his unique place in Paint Valley history, as you said, he was an assistant coach on the state championship team, and he was a head coach, and I got a lot of experience being his assistant as well. And then he had the Final Four softball team. The year escapes me. There,
2014.
Okay.
It was the year that Westfall won it all in a different division.
That's right. So, you think of Chris's place in history at Paint Valley when it comes to spring sports, and he's really just served as a great leader for all of us.
So this event, they're calling it Diamonds Are Forever, a historical celebration of Paint Valley baseball and softball. That's coming up this Saturday as we're doing this program live, March the 22nd from 1 to 4 p.m. at Paint Valley High School cafeteria. So what will be the program for that day?
I'm sure you've had a lot of situations like this. It was an idea that just started as kind of like a nice kickoff to the season, and then it started to grow and do a little bit more and more and more. The idea coming up on the 30th anniversary of our '95 state championship team, and then thinking, okay, how could we highlight our 5 district championship teams? Because remember, the year after that, '96, they won a district, and we've won a district in 14, 15, and 21, and we wanted to do some things. And then we thought, well, let's include softball as well. So as we started to do a lot of research, we started to find that baseball started back in around 59. Softball didn't start till 88, which was something that surprised a lot of us. And we thought, let's just bring it together, and we'll make it a reunion-style event. So we're going to have a timeline. So as people come in, you'll walk from 59 to 2025 on the baseball side. You'll walk from 88 to 25 on the softball side. We hope to have a really cool backdrop where people of maybe generations, or maybe all of the all-league players, or all the Ohio players, or maybe get some of those district championship teams together. Maybe you have different families you want to have a picture with. We'll have some music. We'll have some microphones. We've invited all the media outlets. We'd love to have people like yourself, people all around the area that maybe could say a few words, or that we could interview, or kind of share memories. And so we have some different people planning to say a few words. So it was just kind of that style event. Now the boosters are starting to run with a little bit more too. They'll have some different things involved. I was told there'll be a food truck, a chance to get some food on the side, but it's no charge. Everyone's welcome. If you played or not, and maybe you're just a member of the community, maybe you even played baseball at another school, and you just love the area sports, and you just want to come and kind of see all the different things. I'm sure there'll be a lot of people that you played against, or whatever it is. So again, everyone's welcome. It's a 3-hour event. If you haven't been back to Paint Valley in a while, we'll have the back doors open where you can go out and see the fields. You can go and see the facilities. Obviously, we have a beautiful football facility now as well for people that haven't been back in a while. But yeah, I mean, it's the sky's the limit in terms of what we can do with it. But that was the foundation of the event, and we wanted to make sure, no matter how much the event grows, that we keep it about that in terms of celebrating all the baseball and softball teams and players that have played there.
I know some of the former players, Christian Newsom, I think he's out in Missouri. Todd Walker, I'm not sure where. Do you know if they're coming back?
I don't know if some of those guys will make it all the way back. We've had pretty good feedback in terms of people coming. Obviously, things are busy, right? People are busy. They live different places. We're even trying to set up to where if you played and you can't make it back, if you will simply send us, it's all over the Facebook and different links, and I've even tried to message out. If you want to send us a video where you say your name, the year you graduated, a baseball, softball memory, we would love to put those together in like a video collage and have those playing a little bit, just so that we can have a little bit of include you in some way. Because, I know it's a random 1 to 4 on a Saturday. People have kids doing who knows what today, and like you said, it may be way out of the area travel-wise. So just trying to give multiple ways for people to get involved.
I could almost bring Jeff Everhart with me. He lives right across the street from my house.
Jeff had a few big moments in
Yes,
in that state championship run for sure. He would certainly be one that would have a great time and catching up with people.
Yeah, that was not only a very talented team, but they had a lot of guys that returned the following year. They got to the regionals before losing out there. We've talked about this over the years. When you're in that moment, you got to take advantage of what you have then, because there's never a guarantee. You don't have injuries or just a myriad of things the following year. I can remember a number of teams over the years that were young like that, and they thought, this team's a lock for the next 2 years. Never happened again, so you just never know.
That's really well said. You think of every sport, it's amazing how it just takes one injury. Eligibility could be a grade thing. It could be kids moving in and out of school districts, whatever it may be. So you're right. When you come up on one of those special runs, you do have to take advantage. I know we've been part of a couple Sweet 16 runs, and it is weird. Sometimes what do they always say in sports? Maybe I'm messing this up, but you don't pick the year picks you.
Absolutely.
A lot of times you think, okay, this will be the year we'll be really good. In reality, the way things work in your bracket or the way things unfolded, sometimes you have a better opportunity right there in front of you than you realize.
Of course, for those of us who are old enough to remember the 1968 Ohio State National Championship football team, that team was laden with sophomores. They never won another national championship with that group. They didn't get to go to the Rose Bowl the next year because Michigan upset them at the Big House, and then they went to the Rose Bowl in '70, and some guy named Jim Plunkett at Stanford upset them that game. So again, you just have to grab the moment and hang on to it because you just never know whether you'll get that opportunity. Speaking of grabbing the moment, something like this for any school is big, but especially for a small community like Bainbridge, Bourneville. I mean, I didn't even go to those schools, but I still fondly remember that '95 team because I had the blessing. B.J. Daly and I were broadcasting throughout the tournament and into that final, and it's just a lot of fun to see one of your local teams, get to the pinnacle.
It really is. I obviously my entire adult life has been Paint Valley. Grew up in Uniota, but through the coverage of the SVC and a lot of the media things I've done, I have a great love for the league, and I've always said it in a way where we can hate each other in a sports sense and a rivalry trying to beat each other to death, but when real life happens, we kind of rally together, and for the most part, I think that's been the case when it's come time to kind of root one another on. Our league is such a dynamic now in enrollment where it's kind of had things in a topic of, is this school too big, this school too small? That's a topic for another day, but what I do know is it's opened up a lot of postseason opportunities. And some of these postseason memories you're talking about are really, really cool. And when a school has an opportunity to go through that, you're right, it's not just the team, the community really does it with them.
I've always thought that something that was unique about the Scioto Valley Conference, and I've even talked to coaches who went from the SVC to other conferences. The late Larry Jordan told me after he went and coached in the SOC for a few years, he said, Mike, it's just not the same. And I know one night we were at Southeastern years ago doing a basketball game, and I was looking into the stands, and I saw three brothers who all went and graduated from the same high school, but as adults, as husbands and fathers, they had settled in other school districts, just like yourself. Yeah. You're a Uniota grad, but most of your adult life working has been at Paint Valley. So it's almost like your cousins with that league, because families spread out into other school districts and they develop new alliances or an allegiance, and that's kind of what keeps that bond, I think, the way it has been over the years.
I think so. As they've stretched to the 7 divisions, a lot's been made of some of the tournament formats and different things, but it's really neat. I've seen some different pictures and videos of how the Southeast District teams, they really travel. Again, those small school communities that you're talking about, they do have a way of coming together, and sports can do that. And I guess that's why, like with this event, it's just a way to kind of give back a little bit. I'm excited for my players to see it.
Yeah.
Like all of our players will be there in their jersey and their hat and so forth, and I'm excited for them to meet people from different generations. And, like if I'm number 14, hey, this guy wore number 14 in 1985. Yeah, I think it'd just be a cool way to bring together some people and educate. And I'll say this, I can talk a lot of Paint Valley history back to right around the mid-'90s, but I've had a big-time education on the history of Paint Valley when you start going back into 59. We cannot find a picture of the 59 team. We have 60 on. I think we're only missing one or two out of all the baseball teams, one or two softball. But it's been incredible just to follow that journey through the timeline. And obviously, we're going to have more stuff out in the 90s, 2000s, and so forth, just because more people have more stuff. Right. But that's the other thing of trying to get the word out. If people have their, I got a nice message from Dave Welch the other day where he said, "Hey, I found a 1985 final stat sheet for me." Well, that's huge because, as you know, from all the years in coaching and media. That type of stuff wasn't kept as well back then. So to have your hands on that, that's just a neat thing to kind of go back and see, well, how does that compare to a little bit of the modern day stats and so forth. So that's the type of stuff we're looking for. We're hoping to hear the great stories. We're hoping to talk to people. We're hoping to see old uniforms, old hats, old stat sheets, whatever it may be. But 3 hours may not be long enough to sit and visit with everybody.
Nobody will want to go home. Before we wrap up, I would not be a sportscaster if I didn't take the opportunity. So how does this season look in the SVC for baseball?
Crazy. I mean, it's just, I think anyone's been around SVC baseball, you just realize every year it's going to be that. Obviously, when you look at the top there with some of what those teams at the top, Zane Trace and Huntington and Uniota were fighting there last year, but they all have a lot back. Southeastern and Westville have a couple arms coming back that are just incredible. I think what you find, like when with Paint Valley last year, we were at 500 last year, and we have a lot coming back. We'd like to think we could take a step forward. We know it won't be easy. But then you look at like a Paint Valley, Adena Piketon, what happens there is maybe some years you don't have the depth. Where baseball's different than other sports for people that aren't familiar is the pitcher. So like if a basketball team takes the floor on a Tuesday night, shy of an injury, that same basketball team is going to take the floor on Friday night. I mean, where in baseball, a lot of times what we found is if we had to play 3 straight nights last year, we were pretty competitive on the first 2, and then all of a sudden on the third night, maybe we couldn't put our best foot forward. What happens with the elite teams is you start to get the depth of arms, the depth of lineup, and so forth. But I would think all 8 teams in the SVC in baseball this year will put a very competitive product on the field.
You mentioned the new format for 7 divisions. Baseball and softball are among those that will also have 7 divisions. Some of the other sports like track, they don't have all 7. And just because you were division whatever in basketball, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be that in baseball, because it's based on the number of total teams that each sport offers. So for the most part, do you know where everybody lands in the SVC is per division for baseball?
I do not know across the board. We are 7. I assume most of those will be pretty close to the basketball side. That's something I'll have to research a little bit more. I want to say, Uniota was 4, with some of the other SVC schools being around 5 to 6. That'll be something to take a look at, because as you said, that competitive balance number and some of those different things play a role. But our baseball team will be 7 come later in the year, and so that's something that, throughout the regular season you're fighting and clawing and trying to finish the best you can, and then that's always the goal, to be playing your best baseball those final 5 to 10 games of the year, with that right around the corner.
Yeah, and of course with baseball, softball, the weather is always a factor. It's always been my understanding that the league has a policy: if you have a league game rained out, when it's made up.
They do. Forever and a day, it's been the very next night. Now they've slowly but surely tried to be a little looser to that, because a lot of non-league schools have been upset with contracts, and then it affects their schedule. So, but I will give the league its due. Having that strict policy has kind of kept us on pace compared to a lot of other conferences. But technically, you rain out on a Monday night, it moves straight to Tuesday night. If you already had a league game on the Tuesday night, and then league game's already scheduled on Wednesday, because it's a Thursday night. So that's where you get into like I was referring to earlier. It only takes a couple of days of rain, and before you know it, you're going to play 3 straight league games when the sun shines. So the league's been a little looser on that, trying to help, because what happens, Mike, is you want your kids to get out and play the non-league games as well. By the end of the year, you want your SVC schools to have their 27 games, because it's going to benefit you in the tournament draw. It's going to benefit your kids in the all-district vote, the all-Ohio vote, all of those things. You want to get out there and put your kids out in front of more eyeballs. So that's a tough situation. But that league rule has been pretty strict over the years.
Now, is baseball tournaments this year using coaches' vote to determine seeds, or are they going with the RPI?
I was told coaches. I didn't think the RPI was quite ready yet, but that's something that I'll have to get some clarification on. I was told at the clinic that they were still kind of in the middle on that. They were really pushing for that, but I don't know if this year will be ready yet. So I'll have to do a little bit of digging as we get into some of our preseason meetings here.
Gotcha. So don't forget, this Saturday, March 22nd, 1 to 4 p.m. at Paint Valley High School cafeteria, Diamonds Are Forever, a historical celebration of Paint Valley baseball and softball on the 30th anniversary of the Bearcat baseball team's 1995 state championship. Shayne Combs, who's the current baseball coach at Paint Valley, thanks for being with us today.
Hey, can't thank you enough. Always a pleasure to sit down with you.
Our interview brought to you by Classic Brands. I'm Mike Smith.